Okay. All right. Looks pretty good here. Let's see here. We got the bike. Yeah, that's good. Guess we're going to turn this a little bit. Isn't the greatest bike stand. All right. We're doing pretty good here. All right. Let's see what's going on here. I'll say something. Welcome to another exciting episode. Okay. So today we're going to put some forks in. Where are the forks? Yeah. We got some forks right here. Yeah. I got some tape on the threads. I guess we should do a little look-see of what I came up with for the clear coat action. Let's do that real quick. All right. Yeah, you guys didn't see what the final product was. Yeah, don't worry about that water on the ground there. My dog decided to pee on things earlier. That was his contribution. So, yeah, we got some action here. We sanded down a little bit. You remember this part here? Some yellow came out, and a little bit of brown, and a tiny bit of red, mostly yellow. And so we kind of accentuated that before we clear coated, and we got some weird action on this too. And we sanded down, and there was some yellow and some weird yellow stuff in the back. Definitely has been repainted from red to yellow, and we're able to get these rivets out and retap these to 448, which I'll have to buy some little screws for. The emblem is available for this bike. Yeah, it's quite pricey though. It's like $75 for a little Colson emblem. It's really a cool emblem, actually. It's this big C, this giant L, and it basically covers up most of the head badge. It's quite impressive. It's quite large. People want quite large money for it too. We'll see how that works out. Anyway, so I accentuated the yellow. When I was sanding through with the SOS pads, I got some yellow action here. And here, and a little bit on the fender. And there was some here. And I kind of just accentuated that whole thing. I added a little bit yellow. I sanded a little more. Yeah, it's a little too shiny with the clear coat, but I think it looks a lot better. And the spiders that are living on this are not giving up. They're definitely mad about the clear coat. Anyway, so we clear coated it, and let's pop you up a little bit here. Let's get you on a little piece of wood or something. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, now you can see the bike, not my big mug. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to pound these races in. But before I do that, I'm going to check the threads on this. I was able to pound these broken some broken rivets that held the old emblem on, which I don't have an emblem, but these broken rivets, I had to kind of pound them in, and then I tapped it, and I just want to make sure before I put everything together that this 4/42 fine tap, it's really small. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, it's really small. I'll have to order some tiny little stainless, sexy flathead, something that doesn't look like a giant wood screw. I'll order some on the internet, and I'll try to get an emblem for this thing. There's a couple on eBay right now, but they're just ridiculously, prohibitively expensive. They do say Colson on them, and they are quite beautiful, from the early 40s. And it kind of makes the bike, I really, really want that emblem. So we'll see about that. But in the meantime, I'm going to run these through, just see this tap, make sure these threads are good. And this bike didn't have threaded holes. It had rivets that pounded through, kind of like, Schwinn has little screws that aren't quite really fine thread, but Colson, I guess they use little head badge rivets. They kind of, when you pound them in, they twist a little bit, and they're just kind of a friction fit, and they work great when the bike is new, when you're making the bike. But as for, rebuilding it or replacing the emblem, it's problematic because it's a rivet and there's no way to really get it. Sometimes you can take like a punch or something. This is the Sharpie, by the way. you can take a steel punch and you come in from the top with the fork disassembled, and sometimes you can smack the back of the rivet real hard and it'll come out, and sometimes you can come from the bottom and smack the side of the rivet and you can get it out without damaging the head badge, but it's 50-50. And these were broken off flush. I was able to break this broken rivet free using the punch method, but this one I really had to pound the living snot out of, and I'm not proud of how it looks, but the emblem will cover it anyway. So right now we're just going to make sure this is hunky-dory. Okay, you guys are there. We're just going to make sure that is threaded like it should be. It feels pretty good. So for 42nd stainless screws, I can put an emblem on this. We just wanted to make sure before we put the fork in, because once the fork's in, if you run a tap in, you could break the tap in there and then it falls down on the bearings and stuff like that. Not cool. This one should be good too. Yeah. Okay, so those two holes are ready to accept the emblem if I ever buy it. I don't think I can make one like that. But anyway, so those are threaded out. That's good. We can't do that once the fork is on. We can't run this tap through into the fork. We could, but it might break off. All right, it's Mike Love. Hey, dude. Hey, I started a little late, so don't worry. I was like 3 minutes late, so you're right on time. All right, so we're going to pound these races in gently. I'm done tapping this. We know this is good. We're good here. And I'll show you exactly what's going on. So we pounded those old rivets out, and we used this tap, and we tapped these to 448. So we're going to get some stainless, something sexy, some kind of flathead stainless looking thing when I do get the emblem, which is quite pricey. I keep complaining about that, but the emblem is like more than my wife paid for this bike. They want for the emblem, so it's gonna happen. I don't know when, but in the meantime, these are threaded. That's good. Okay, so got the forks here. We did a pretty good job on these too. We were able to sand a little bit of yellow out, and I embellished it a little bit. Yeah, it's got some action. It's clean, it's clear. It's shiny. A little too shinier than I wanted, but it's good. All right, so we're ready to pound these races in, so let's get to it. All right, so we cleaned these up pretty good. There's a little rust right here. Keep actually up there. Okay, so there's a little rust, and we're gonna hide that. This one's really good though. This one's not bad. So the old rule of tricks of the trade is you hide the rusty part where no one can see it really. So when we take this, we'll hide this rusty part. And you wouldn't want to hide it on the bottom because you can see it. So if you hide it on the top facing the rider, then you really have to look under to see the rust. You really have to want to see it. And, you know, if you really want to see rust that bad, I got a lot of rusty parts you could look at. Okay. So we're going to pound this one in real quick. Okay. Hammer of choice. Something that is not going to ruin the race. All right. So this makeshift bike stand is kind of, let's just face it, it's not my best work. It's keeping the bike from falling over out here while the mosquitoes are biting me. So that's important. But if I go slamming on this, it's probably going to like fall off or something. So what I'm going to do is we'll get this race where we want it. Rusty line. That rusty line right there, which is chrome loss, we're going to hide that towards the rider. And the rider would have to really want to look down and see that, or when you turn the bike over, you'll see it. But in the meantime, since we're not sending these off to a plating company, because that's not going to happen, we're going to hide that rusty line towards the rider. Okay, so here we go. Now, the sound kind of changed. And that's, you know, if you listen to the sound, it went from like a dull wonk to like a harder clank. That usually means that you're down where you need to be and to stop pounding. But we'll take a good look at that real quick. And we're not quite there. We're there here, but in the back, I see a little gap. That's the sound you want, that hard whack. That means that this race is connected like it should to the all the way around to the head tube. If you don't hear that, and something's up. So right now, that's in there. I see a little bit right here. Yep, that's good. And the rusty part is not visible from the front. I mean, there's some rust. You would really have to want to see that little rusty line there. You really have to want that. And we don't want that. We want it to look nice. Okay, so we're going to put the bottom race in now. And then, as promised, I think we're going to loose pack the bearings. We do have bearings that have cages, and they're fine. But that would be boring. We're going to break these all out of here. And we're going to dig through my little bucket of more bearings. And we're going to take some, and we're going to loose pack the bottom and top. Because that's interesting, and that's what you need to know. Also, it's my bike, and I like the way loose pack bearings feel. It just gives you a little less friction, and for hubs especially, but that's hard to do. But this is an easier way to do it. Well, it's easier than a hub. And in fact, all rally bikes from the 60s and 70s were all loose packed with much smaller bearings than this. And it just seems they went a long way with the loose pack on the bearings for the rally headsets. That was a lot. It was a lot for people to deal with. Tiny little bearings, like, 60 of them. tiny, much smaller than this, and they were loose packed. And I'll show you what one of the cones look like. It's somebody was thinking, let's make it really hard to fix on this bike. Whereas Schwinn and American bikes, yeah, they're caged, but we're going to break them out. We're going to loose pack them because we want to make it difficult for everyone in the future. Okay. So here's this other race. This one cleaned up a lot better, actually. A couple little pits. I keep forgetting the camera's up there. There's a couple little pits, but it's a lot better than that top race was. And, you know, there's no really science to hiding any of this rust. It's on the bottom. You're going to see it. So we're just going to slam it in there and maybe put the shiniest part out towards the front of the bike. All right, let's do it. Okay, that's pretty good. Did you hear the tone difference? Kind of a wonk wonk and then a whack whack. That means it's in there. And if you keep pounding on it, bad stuff's going to happen. So it's in there. It's good. And just to make sure, this is another thing I do. Now, I know these forks fit this bike. But if you were just building up a clunker or, you know, some bike with unknown parts that weren't together, this is something you should do. And we don't have to do this, but I just want people to know how to do it. So if you're building up something with unknown parts and you don't really know about them, you want to make sure before you put everything together, before it gets all greasy and gooey and you are bummed out that you have to take it all apart and get greasy and gooey again, just dry fit it in there. Here's the race is already on here. Here's the bearing. We're going to dry fit this and just check it. Obviously the balls go up, cage goes around there. We'll put it in here. Right now I'm going backwards against the thread and listening for a click. There we go. So I went backwards. I went backwards with the adjuster, and then you hear a tiny little click. You're not going to cross that. Yeah, I probably should have put some grease on these threads just for GP because it's really dry, but we'll fix that, don't worry. Okay, so we dry fitted that. You know, we're just making sure at this point. We don't feel like back apart with grease on and stuff. So we're just for a washer or a strut mount, which this bike did have a strut. I did some research and it did have a Springer front end. It has the closed eye on the fork, but there was one with a strut rod that had a closed eye too. And I'll show you the piece. I actually found a piece. It's almost the correct one, and I'll show you what it looks like. In my stash of goodies, I found a Firestone or Colson strut bar piece. And this, come on now, this piece is definitely from the 40s and would go on this bike. And with the right spacing, there's another little washer that goes under there. And I think I'm going to install this. It might even go like that. No, it definitely goes like this. And that allows you to run a strut bar from here down to the fork. Now, I don't have these strut bars, but they're easy to make, and that'll be like the next video. I'll put them in my bender and weld the little eye on there and spray paint them silver or black. They are not going to the plater, by the way. They're going to be just sprayed and put on. Anyway, so I'm pretty sure this bike had a strut bar because there's room for it. And if it was a Springer, the Springers on these models, from the research I did, the Springer has this big welded plate that comes up like that on both sides. And it comes up to a little ring, which is right here or up here, maybe. And there's this big piece of rubber, this honking piece of rubber in a mount that comes up. And that Springer goes from there to the honking piece of rubber. And guess what? They want a lot of money for one of those Springers. So that ain't going to happen. So guess what? It's now a strut bar bike, and it probably was anyway. I mean, it probably was a strut bar bike anyway. So we're doing it right. Okay, so we dry fitted that. But now we're going to take it apart real quick, put some grease in the cups, and we're going to break open some bearings, and we're going to loose pack it because we're going to make it difficult for everybody in the future. Yeah. Oh, there's a comment. Oh, you learned how to nickel plate. It's easy. Try it. You can do it. Huh. Maybe I could nickel plate this at home. Some weird acid bath and some electricity or something. I'll look into that, Mike. We'll see. A lot of those were nickel plated. In fact, I think this piece, I cleaned on it and it looked like gray paint, but this might even be nickel plated itself. A lot of those bikes in the 40s, they didn't have chrome yet. Chrome wasn't really a thing until after World War II. I think there's a lot of bikes that just had nickel plated stuff and they were fine and everything was fine. So you don't have to have chrome. Okay, so we're going to take this apart and we're going to put grease in the cups. We're going to break open some bearings. We're going to loose pack it. We're going to put it back together and we're going to tighten it up with this Colson wannabe original piece. But before we do that, let's just make sure it's actually going to work. Okay, so here's the little washer there. See the peg that's burning. So we're going to put that on there. We're going to put this Colson wannabe piece on here. It looks like we have just enough threads. Let's just make sure. Yeah, that's enough. Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, that's enough threads. All right, so we'll assemble this with the strut rod plate, and then I'll make the strut rods later. And we'll even nickel plate them. I think there's just going to be a can of Rust-Oleum hammered silver in the future. But hey, anything's possible. This plate was a rare find. I found it in my stash of goodies, so it's going on this bike. It's in there. It's in the movie. And this is not the right one, but it's better. It's better than that. Although if I was a purist, I would put this one on, but I might still. I mean, that's the original one. Yeah, we might just put that back on. We'll see. All right, so let's take this apart. We're going to grease it. We're going to loose pack it. Oh, looks like I got some more people there. Can I buy the VW bus? Well, it's on my mom's land, and I got plans for that little sucker. That's a little advertising gem. Everywhere I go with my old truck, delivering artwork and delivering metalwork, you'd be surprised what a really old vehicle that you drive around in, what that does for your business. When they see you, it's like smiles per gallon. So I definitely have plans for the VW bus. I'll get to it. It's on my mom's land. I got to go get it, and that's not going to be pretty. Her driveway. She calls it a driveway. It's not a driveway. It's where vehicles go to die. Okay. All right. So let's put some grease in here, and then we'll bust these bearings open and loose pack them. Are you ready? Do you feel lucky? All right. All right, some good, decent grease. It's multi vehicle. It's red. How am I going to loose pack this upside down? Maybe I won't loose pack it. Maybe we'll skip that today. Yeah, I said I was going to loose pack it. I'm a man of my word. We'll see. Okay. That's more than enough. Anything you'd ever want to do with bike forks. You don't need a lot. Yeah. Let's put this thread because we were noticing that was a bit dry earlier. Okay, that's pretty good. All right, these are ready. So I did say I was going to loose pack this, and you know what? We better loose pack it, or we will hear the comments for days and days about how I said I was going to loose pack it, and I didn't. So to loose pack it, you get the bearings you already have, and you break them out, and then you put them in there, and you leave one space, one bearing space. So let's see if we can get you closer, or I think you can get the idea. All right, I think we're gonna take this. I'll loose pack the top first. So we're breaking them out right now. I'm taking them all out of here, one by one. I probably should have had this all ready. But life isn't always all ready. Sometimes you just do stuff. Okay, so we're going to loose pack this top. And when I get it all loose packed, I'll get you over here. I'll hold the computer up so you can see that one bearing space I'm talking about. That's a bit too much grease, actually. Let's see. Where can we see your wife's art? Oh no. Go to sarahfaulkner.com, or you can go to the Marquee website in Asheville, or you can go to the Woolworth Walk in Asheville has a website, and some of her work is there. Best thing to do is go to sarahfaulkner.com, and yeah, she's got a lot of images. In fact, I just delivered 2 giant paintings today in the old truck with no AC, and the wing window kept flapping closed. Anything over 30 miles an hour, and the wing window closes because the rubber's old. So I'm holding the wing window open so I don't have a heat stroke. But I delivered 2 huge paintings today. And it's funny, that truck is like smiles per gallon. People see you running up with that thing and they're just like, you actually use this thing? You use this for work? I'm like, yeah, it's the truck has to work. It's not a trailer queen. You know, it actually has to do stuff. More grease. Okay, so we got a couple more in here. And we've taken everything out of this cage. So we're going to continue on that other cage. It should be enough to loose pack this top, hopefully. And and we'll bust into my supply of other bearings. So yeah, we ruined this cage. Oh, there's one more in here. Look at that. Cool. And now we're gonna ruin this cage. Because we like to do things the hard way. Probably should have had this ready. Okay. Look at that. I think there's there's one bearing space in there now, and I'll get you up here with the camera and so you can see. Try get this off of my hands. All right. So this is what loose pack looks like. So we broke all the bearings out. Trying to see here. There we go. And if you notice, there's no more cage. And there's one bearing space right there. One bearing space. You need that. You can't pack them in that tight. It's called loose pack because there's no metal cage holding anything together. Raleigh used to do it for years, and it was terrible. Why am I doing it? Because I want, like I say, I want to make it more difficult for okay, which is probably me. So anyway, that's ready to go. We ruined 2 races. I mean, we ruined 2 cages. We ruined these cages. Could probably bend them back and reuse them. But they're ruined. They're gone. They're empty. They're shells of what they used to be. So now we're going to do the bottom. Okay. All right, good. So to do the bottom, I guess we're going to reach up or we're going to undo this stand and turn it upside down, or I'm not quite sure how we're going to do this. We could just shove this in here with some tape real quick. Yeah, maybe that's the ticket. Yeah, I don't have any tape. I don't have the bearings ready either. I wonder if that'll stay there. You know what? I'm going to go get a piece of tape. I'll be right back. Here. Back in 2 minutes. Oops. Yeah, I got to get a piece of masking tape. Tape this down. Flip the frame over. Loose bottom. You should leave a like to your wife. Art might help. Oh yeah, she's her artwork is incredible. I keep trying to tell her to go on YouTube or do something to promote it. She doesn't really need to promote it actually. Well, she does, but it's really good. If you get a chance, go to sarahfall.com and all her artwork is on there. I'll be right back. I'm going to get a piece of masking tape and then we're going to flip this over. I'll loose pack the bottom. Okay, I'm back. I got the tape. I got some dog treats because I think they're going to come out here in about 8 seconds. It's pretty important to have cute little fluffy dogs that actually don't do anything except sit on the couch all day. It's important to take care of those guys too. All right, so what we're going to do, sorry for the delay, I didn't have the tape. We're going to make sure this is nice and dry and clean right here. And we're going to tape this. We're going to tape this top race on and undo this frame, flip it over so I can loose pack the bottom. And then we'll go from there. I wasn't really super prepared on the loose pack deal, but I think that'll probably stay. Hopefully that'll stay. If it doesn't, they'll just fall all over the porch and go down into the dog run, and we'll never see them again. Okay. All right. So we're going to flip this over. Something like that, maybe. All right, maybe we'll just let that hang for a minute. Maybe I can do that without knocking it over. Okay. So let's break these out. There's still a few left in this one. Okay, good. You can see. Okay. Probably should have had these ready, like I was saying, but hey, life isn't always having stuff ready. Sometimes you just got to do the best you can. Okay, so we've taken all these out. We took 2 of these and used most of them in the top race. And now we got to go to my little goodie box and we got to find some other bearings to break out of cages to complete this loose pack in the bottom. So let's do that real quick like. Oh, look, here's one right here. And that's a large wasp. Needs to go away. Yeah, here's another one. These are pretty standard for old bikes. I forget, they're Hartford 64s or something like that. Anyway, we got another whole caged race here. We're going to break into this and take these out. These are decent bearings. There's no issues. There's no giant pits or anything. All right, so we're going to break these out. Yeah, it's time consuming. Racers do this to hubs. People that go racing the Tour de France. Well, actually, they used to. It's all sealed bearings now. I'm sorry. Vintage people that race vintage bikes do this. They break open cages and loose pack the bearings, especially in front hubs. They seem to like that a lot. It's just kind of a pain in the butt in a rear hub, like a coaster brake. You're trying to put this complicated hub together and you're loose packing it. It can be kind of dicey. And there were some old bikes that were just loose packed from the factory to begin with. Not everybody uses a caged bearing on bikes. There were some manufacturers that French people actually. A lot of French bikes, things are loose packed. Okay, we need one more bearing. Dang. One more. Oh, there's one in here. Look at that. So I guess rule of thumb is takes 1.5 cage bearings to make a loose pack. I don't know. Whatever. All right, so those are pretty sure I should have a space though. Okay, good. I'll show you the space in just a minute. All right. All right. So we loose pack this, and I'll show you this. I'll show you the space now. So there's the to get in there. I can't really see. All right, good. So now we're going to put the forks in after all that because we've made life so much more difficult for anybody ever working on this bike, which was my main purpose in life, is to make things difficult. You notice even my camera stand has to agree. Come on now. Hey, folks. Okay. All right, so this top race, this top adjuster cone is taped on right now because we had to flip the bike over. So we're going to quickly put the forks in, and then we're going to gently flip the bike back over and secure it. But this is now loose packed, so we should be able to put this in and catch that race and just spin it in there. Catch the adjuster cone. Yeah, I think we got it. I'll knock the bike over. It's going to be close. It really wants to tip over. Okay, it's official. We have loose pack. All right, let's flip it back over, make it safe. Right now it's ready to fall. Oh, I see. We have issues. What happened here? Oh, I see. Okay, good enough. It's not great. So we were successful. This. We broke open a bunch of cages and we taped this top race on so we could put the forks in because this bike stand is inadequate. It's not really a bike stand. And now we're gonna peel this away and deal with life. Voila. Whee! All right. So this is now loose packed. There are no more cages holding the bearings together. It takes about 1 3/4 of these broken out of the cages to make a loose pack with the needed space in between the bearings. I did show you that. That's why there's a whole bunch of these in my pile, all broken up, because that's what I do. Okay, so it actually feels pretty good. So we're gonna put the strut spacer on, and then we're gonna put the washer on top of that. Then we're gonna put the retaining bolt, probably this nice old rusty one that came with the bike, just because that's the way I roll. All right, so this is going on. It kind of looks like it's nickel plated, Mike. Might be. All right. Oh, before we do that, let's loosen this up a bit. There we go. Feels pretty good. With the washer on. Always inspect these washers for the little nub that's there. Make sure that nub is there and not worn off, or you're just putting a washer on that spins against the threads of the fork, ruining it. If you just put this on without the little square washer, it just ruins the threads. It just spins along here with the nut. Also, put a little dab of grease on here, and you might even want to, here's some etiquette for you. You might even want to dress this washer up a little, not on the notch, but on the flat edge. So when it's spinning or trying to spin against the adjuster cone, one of these, let's see, here's one. So you want it to be spinning nicely on this adjuster cone with grease, and then the bolts on top of that. So you want that to be flat and free of any burrs and galls and stuff. You need that to be nice. So you want to take a file and just kind of rub it along there. I can feel it catching on something. So you cleaned up that edge pretty good. So now I know it's gonna, man, these mosquitoes are killing me. Now I know it's going to do the right thing. I can see on this, there's a little bump there, like a little, you see the little bump? Yeah, we're gonna file that off. There's a little galling there. If something happens, some grit gun under there, or something maybe from the factory, not sure. Okay. Okay, we successfully cleaned that up pretty well. Now that there's no plating left and it's going to rust really badly, we're going to put it on there. Okay, so that was the idea behind that, was to keep this nice and smooth on the adjuster cone. And when you put this lock bolt on, it slides nicely, and that little square nub fits into the part on the fork, and it does what it's supposed to do. You want that to be, really perfect, because it only takes a little bit, and you tighten it and it rubs into the fork's threads and it ruins everything, So dress that up, look at it very carefully. And Schwinn is a different size from other bikes. Colson is about the size of Schwinn. So this is actually a Schwinn part. Oh, look who it is. Look who wants to come to dinner. Let's put this on real quick and we'll give the boys a treat. Hey, boys. I got some dog stuff out here for you. Let's see what's going on. How you guys doing? You down there? I see a dog. Where are those treats at? Hey. Come here, buddy. Good boy. Come here, Lovey. Come here, boy. You want a treat too? Okay, you gotta say hi to the people. Say hi. Okay. Oh, you know what? He got two. You get one more. No, you already got yours. You get yours. Okay. All right. All right. Good. You know what? You get one more. So you're super nice. All right. Good. All right. Go and do dog things. Go and do dog things. Go. 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 I'm doing stuff here, man. All right. That was Lovey and Scout. Say hi. Hi. I want more food. I want treats. Okay, we're done with the treats. We're done. All right. So we got this holder for the strut rod on. Poo-poo. And we got the washer in here that we dressed up with the file. And there's grease on these threads. You can see the grease. It's there. And we'll put a little grease in here too. There's plenty of grease hanging out. And we'll put some grease. Oh, but you know what? I think we're going to use the rusty one, aren't we? Yeah, we're going to use this rusty one that came with the bike because that's how I roll. So we're going to put some grease on that for sure. Okay, that's a lot of grease. There's still a dog waiting for a treat, apparently. I don't think it's going to happen, buddy. He's still waiting. What are you doing? No, that's grease. Go. I think you got the idea. All right, so we're going to, because then you can't really get a good tighten on it. Okay, I think these guys are done with their treat. They're done. All right, so let's just pick a little bit on here. See, I know you can't see this, but now that little washer under there is staying where it should be against the notch in the fork. And this bolt on top is trying to turn this other part, but the washer is staying where it's supposed to stay, which is important for this strut rod piece too. That's about all I'm going to do right there until I get the handlebars in and I can hold it. That's as tight as I'm going to make it. So it feels pretty good, actually. Not bad. Loose pack is good. Now with this strut rod piece, you can't turn the forks 360 degrees. It hits the frame. Not that you have to do that while you're riding, but sometimes to test the fork and bearing, you want to spin it around like that. But with this strut rod piece in here, you can't do that now. Okay, so quick overview about Rally and their loose packing stuff. I'll show you a piece if I can find it. Here it is. So Rally would loose pack everything, and they would have these tiny little bearings. This is the top adjuster, mind you, for a Rally bike. It might be a reproduction piece, but it's for Rally. And there'd be about twice as many as needed tiny little bearings in here. And then the other piece would be reversed, and it would be on the bottom too. So if your fork ever loosens up on a vintage Rally, the bearings just fall out on the road. I don't think I have any in here that they're not caged, but they're really small. And so if your fork ever gets loose, you bend your fork or something happens and this loosens up a little bit. If you're riding a Rally, you soon won't have bearings that are connected in there because they don't have this little cage to hold them in. That's the problem with loose packing. You loose pack something, and like this bike, I just loose packed it. That's great. But if this ever loosens up and I'm on the road, the bearings are going to fall out. So there is advantages to using caged bearings and not loose packing it. So make it harder for the next guy. Yeah, that's my motto. Make it harder for the next guy. Okay, so that's the rally deal. They're tiny little bearings. They're loose packed and they fall out. Sweet. Okay, I know I'm going to get some rally comments on that one. Okay, so we got this going on pretty good here. I'd say we're almost ready to try to put the front fender on. Let's see, how long has it been? It's been, almost an hour, and all I've done is put some forks in. Yeah, I'm a genius. Okay, my first try a bearing was a 1960 McCullough chainsaw rod bearing, and they were needle bearings. It did not go good. My old man got real mad. I dropped one inside the case. Oh, dude. So when one needle falls out of a roller rod bearing, it's fine, right? It's just there's some room in there for those other needle bearings to go around the connecting rod. Yeah, I think you're okay. Just fish it out with a magnet and run it. Hey, my dad taught me about mechanics, and I remember working on this 40-horse Volkswagen once, and he said, all right, put the cylinder head back on, and torque it to specs. I was about 13, and I put it back on, and I torqued it down, and then he said, okay, you torque that? I'm like, yeah, Dad. He goes, okay, put the rocker shaft on and torque that to whatever Volkswagen is, 23 pounds. I can't remember what a rocker shaft for a 40-horse gets torqued to, but there's 2 bolts. He goes, and start it evenly. So, I'm he's messing around in the shop. I hear this like tink, tink. Like, what was that? Like, Dad, I heard like this tinking sound, and I came over. He came over, he looked at it, and he goes, oh, man, you got the rocker. Something happened to the rocker, and you tightened it up cattywampus, and it broke loose one of the valve spring keepers. And so we had to take the head back off and run across the street to this Harley Davidson place. And this big biker dude's like, what'd you do? And he put this clamp on it. We put the keepers back in it. But, just goes to show you got to pay attention. And, in my defense, I was 13, and I didn't know about putting rocker shafts on evenly, and to this day, I don't know how I did that, but I did loosen up a valve keeper and spring, and it almost shot off of there, and we had to take the head back off. So there you go. So that's why I work on some more simple things. Yeah. All right. So let's put the fender on. Let's quit jabberjawing. And like I say, I like to keep these things when they're not having a wheel in them. I just like to keep them from clanging around. I don't like that. If you look in the back here, I got these bolted down, even though there's not a wheel here. I just don't like that I'm clanging around because you're working on me thing. I have some issues. I need to look into that. So anyway, here's the fender we came up with. There's all the yellow stuff we kind of sanded in and embellished a little bit. There's a huge dent here that kind of has some yellow in it too. I think I'm going to just leave that dent alone for now. This has been clear coated. And there's that weird front part. I don't know if the light's really picking that up. It's got some like wartime, I don't have a reflector thing. Yeah, you can kind of see that. Yeah. Anyway, so let's pop this in here. I think I got the bolt for this somewhere. Hang on, give me a second. I don't think I have the bolt for this. Oh. I can't remember if that's a 1/4 bolt that comes up through. I can't remember if that's a through bolt. even, I can't remember when I took this apart if this was threaded or not. Huh. It doesn't appear to be threaded. Well, we're not going to be able to put the fender on unless I find some little mini bolt. Hmm. Hmm. Well, interesting. Let's look in here. Maybe this one will work. Oh, here's what we'll do. We'll just temporarily use this. We'll temporarily use this bolt here. Yeah. All right, let's put that fender on. You're gonna love it. And we need a washer. Beautiful. Now in this style fender, there's a little crimp on each side from the factory because they really thought about you back in the day. It's a true 3-inch tire. You know, it's a true fat tire bike. If you put a regular fork on here and a fat fender, it would crunch. So a lot of companies would put this little indent in there, which allows it to go up in and you get the full tire. It's just kind of a thing they did back then, you know. So here we go. And like I say, this is just a temporary bolt until I find the right one. It'll work for now, though. All right. Yeah, we're doing pretty good. Let's see. Yeah, an hour and 3 minutes, and we got a fork and a fender on. Hey, you know, we're really moving here. Okay, we'll leave that loose for a second, and then we'll undo these. And like I said, I really don't like things clanging around, so we're going to bolt these to the forks real quick. Okay, that looks pretty good. We'll get the a little better snug on here. Yeah, I think that's so graceful with the action there. All right, so now we're going to put the bars in real quick, snug them up, and final whammy on that, this retaining bolt. I'd like to put the final whammy on it, see how everything's, and it just basically adjust it right now. But to do that, we got to put the bar stem in because we have to hold it and then give it the crank and watch this not move and stuff like that. So it's almost like we need a helper here to hold the bars, but our dogs are busy. They got their treats already, so I don't think they're going to help me. What I am going to do is put some grease on this little piece in there. I don't like that. It's way too dry. When you hear this sound and you're working on bikes, you got to stop and grease things and check threads and stuff like that. That sound, that dry sound, that's a no-no. So is hammering something in your hand. Okay, so we're going to undo that real quick. Give it a quick tidy. We're gonna put this right in the goo. It's good to contaminate your grease for others. Okay, so we're gonna wipe some of that in that little hole. And we're gonna run it in. And presto, no more squeak, 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 which is not what you want on bikes. Every bolt, nut, everything on a bike, most of them, unless they're inside of a 3-speed hub, need grease. Every fastener, every brake handle lever, everything involved. And you need grease on this outside of this piece too, because it goes into another metal piece. It goes inside the stem. And you don't want that to get stuck in there, You want it to do its thing, but you don't want this to be permanently affixed when you take it apart and try to work on it. And that person, maybe you. All right, so now we're going to put these in, but before we do that, we're going to put some more grease inside the fork tube. I just explained about how grease is important. You don't want this stem to be frozen in here later. Water gets in here, condensation, and the next guy working on it, you want to be able to get this apart. So we put a little grease in there too. Not a lot. Smear it around a little. Get some action. Okay. Put that to the side. Get this off our hand. Why am I not using green gloves that I had? I don't know. All right, so we got the grease in there. We got some on here. This looks pretty good. Yeah, let's put this in. And I don't have a 1/2-inch wrench. Awesome. Dude. Boy, they made adjustables, right? Okay, we're here. Let's pop that down. Some of these have a minimum insertion line, and that came out late 60s, early 70s. Schwinn always used to have it pretty much from 50s. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Schwinn had a minimum insertion line on their stems around 65. Not quite sure. But a lot of the early 40s bikes didn't have it. You just had to use your own judgment. And they didn't give you a lot of stem anyway. I mean, it's not a very long stem. What is that, 4 inches? They didn't give you a lot anyway, so most people just shoved it in there and dealt with it. So we're going to put it in most of the way. I'm going to kind of eyeball down it. Then we're going to use our 1/2-inch wrench and tighten it up. Good thing I lubed up that thread, huh? Okay. All right, we're not worried about super straight right now. We just want to hold this while we tighten that and while this stays. So let's wipe off some of this excess goo here. All right, so now we adjust our wrench out to 1.25 inches. So the best way to do this is to kind of grab it here and just tighten it a little, but that's going to move too. So you gotta do the whole 9 yards here. Oh, wild turkey just flew in that tree. Okay. That's a little tight. I didn't like that. So that was a little tight. Once it was compressed, it felt a little tight. So we're going to undo that. We're going to spin the adjuster back. Okay, we spun the adjuster back counterclockwise. And now we're going to tighten that up. I'm kind of holding it with my knee, bracing my shoulder against this, and holding the strut bar piece so it doesn't ruin the little slot in the forks. Okay. That feels pretty good. Yeah. I know you're not here to feel that, but that's not bad. Once I ride the bike around a little bit, I might tighten it or loosen it depending. But that's the idea. It's easier to have the bars in and brace everything. You don't have the front wheel in, but you get what I mean. You can kind of brace yourself against the fender, against the bars, hold this strut rod piece, and hopefully if that washer you just put in there is in good shape, then you'll be able to tighten that and that washer will stay. And there's grease on there. Grease, flat, no burrs. Bikes are all about clean grease and things that aren't galled and burred up. And you'll know that with old bikes especially because they were made to a higher quality. I mean, you could basically put an engine on this thing and run it. It's even though it's from the 40s and it's rusty, it's a strong bike. Yeah. All right, so yeah, that's about it for today. I am going to try to go on eBay and get a Colson badge. And we did tap it. We did tap the rivet holes to 448, which we can't really deal with right now because the fork is in there. That's why we did it earlier. Okay, that's about it. Let's give you a quick overview of the bike, how it looks in the faded sunlight here. Oh, we also had the timing ting. We pulled off the new head, and the top of the piston had all these pits in the top of them. Oh, yeah. Am I still on? Somebody say something. Am I still here? Today. This is it. Oh, wild turkey. Did you see him? Man. Did you guys see that wild turkey? He's up there. Anyway, the turkeys run down the field because they're so fat and cumbersome. They run down that field and get barely lift off, and then they go into those trees over there. We might see another one in a minute. Anyway, maybe I'll keep talking for a second. That was pretty cool. Anyway, yeah, that's what we did today. Some through in a few spots. Down here, living heck out of it. And yeah, this is what we got so far. A shiny patina 41 loop tail or so. Got some action here. And it's coming along pretty good. And we did find a piece for the strut rod. And we are going to put the strut rods on this because I can make them and possibly even plate them, but I don't think so. Okay, so let's see. That took us, what, an hour and 14 minutes. Hey, we're doing pretty good. Okay. Good luck to everybody, and thanks for subscribing, and thanks for the comments. And probably next Saturday or Sunday, we'll probably try to put the cranks in. I have to figure out the races and stuff. I really want to use Colson parts, the parts that came with this bike. So I might have to clean one up on the lathe, especially on this outer side. The other side looks pretty good. And once we get the cranks in, I'll try to get the cranks in next week and try to get the chain right on. So that'll be our project next week. We're going to try to put the cranks in, try to put the chain, at least fit the chain guard and see what's happening. And the seat post, I got that one weird pink one that's from some BMX bike, but I think I might order something online that's a little more dainty than that. Okay. Hey, thanks for tuning in, and yeah, do the right thing. Oh, think good thoughts. Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for tuning in, man. I'm sure your dad doesn't mind that you dropped that roller bearing down in there, that needle bearing. My dad didn't mind that I almost ruined a Volkswagen engine. You know, it's part of growing up. You know, things happen. All right, have a good day, man. All right, see you guys later.